Hi pet lovers, hi dog lovers. Thanks so much for joining Gina's Grooming channel. Today we're going to be doing another exciting episode of our Diary of a Dirty Dog, starring Rosie, our standard poodle. We're using this Diary of a Dirty Dog to go through some very important key things that you need to know to handle a dirty dog at home. Today's episode is on brushing a furry dog. Now I know we have a standard poodle here. Thank you, Rosie, so much for being here with us. But this type of brushing technique applies to any dogs really with fur. Unless you have a show dog, there's special handling for things like that. But if you have a pet and you've got any substantial fur, now let me go down the list a little bit. If you have a Cocker Spaniel, if you have a Bernese Mountain Dog, if you have a Newfoundland, if you even have a Labrador Retriever and you've got that stuff in the back that gets a little more furry and especially around their neck, this is the technique that you're going to use to brush them. Pomeranians, Cavalier King Charles, the list goes on and on. So dogs with fur, Spitz breeds, they definitely are going to use the same exact technique that I'm going to show you today. So before we get into the exciting part of actually brushing Rosie all the way through, I want to say something pretty important, is that the biggest disconnect I think between professional groomers and people at home who are grooming their dogs at home is that most people do think that they brush their dogs at home, and I truly believe that most of you guys really truly believe that you're brushing your dog at home. But there's a process that involves not just brushing, but also combing. So we're going to talk about using a slicker brush for your furry dog, and then checking that brushing with a comb. And also adding to that, to many types of dogs, you also want to include a spraying agent, a conditioning agent, so that the coat gets separated while you're brushing it and it makes it easier to go through. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, get Rosie to stand up for us, and we're going to go ahead and start brushing. Now the tools that we're going to be using for this are pretty simple. We're going to be using something called a slicker brush, which is a brush that has little pins on it. Now again, if you have a short or a smooth coated dog, obviously this is not the tool that you're going to use for your smooth or short coated dog. You're going to watch our video on combs and brushes and what is appropriate to use for what type of dog. But a slicker brush is going to be used for any dogs that are furry, that are coated. Again, this is what you're going to be using for this type of coat. In addition to the brush, very important, because brushing alone does not work for these type of coats, we have to use a comb. Remember to get an assortment of combs that come in different size of space of their teeth. And then finally, we use a spraying agent. Most dogs need a spraying agent when you're brushing them. This serves a few purposes. First, to slick out the coat so it's easier to brush. If there's any mats, it helps detangle them as long as they're not too bad. It also will help refresh the coat, take out some of the dirt that's been built in, and also give a pleasant smell. And finally, a spraying agent will help repel any future dirt that may land on your coat between professional grooming visits. Okay, so before we go in and brush our dog with our slicker brush, with our combs, right, and with our spraying agent, before we do any of that, I want to talk about the comfort for you. So I have some of my equipment on a little table. I have a stool that I'm going to move around while I'm brushing her. I have a hydraulic table that I can go ahead while I'm holding her up. I can go ahead and lift and raise this table to make it easier on me. Because again, as I mentioned in a lot of the episodes, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself comfortable is going to reflect on the dog. It's going to be a better situation for both of you guys. Don't get frustrated with the process. Make sure to sit down, relax, enjoy the process, and bond with your dog. What I do as a professional groomer, and most professional groomers do this, is we mentally section out a dog, how we're going to brush them. Now I usually start at the shoulder blade, go down this way, then I do this section, I do a rear leg, and then I travel to the front leg. Why do I do this? Is the front leg is usually a little difficult. Even the best of dogs have a difficult time with brushing a front leg thoroughly. So that's a point that I want to kind of show you guys different ideas how you can handle that. Also brushing the tail. This is a sensitive area. She's already pulling back. So when we're brushing the tail, I'm going to go over again some tips and tricks of how you can go ahead and brush a tail without causing them too much distress. And then we're going to brush the head out on a separate level. So again, section out your dog. We're going to start on this section, and then I'm going to explain how we do that, and then we're going to continue on for the remainder of the dog, talking about those points. Okay, so let's start. Are you guys ready? Okay, spraying agent. This is a scent that I absolutely love. It's Magic Touch, made by Crown Royale. It's the Magic Touch Grooming Spray number 3. So I spray the area that I'm going to start with. Don't overspray, don't oversaturate, right? I've got a comfortable table, I put my stuff down, I've got everything ready. I start to brush. Now, ideally, I want to make sure that I keep her skin above where I'm brushing secure, okay? You can see all that dirt going through. Okay, so here's my section. This is the section that is still conditioned with my conditioner. Oh, you are such a dirty dog. Okay, so I've brushed out this section. This is section 1, let's call that. Okay, so then I go into my widest tooth comb and I go and I check. Feeling good, feeling really good. A little bit of tightness there, but enough where I can go ahead and gently pull with my comb. If you hit a mat, if you hit like right here, I hit a little bit of tightness, you go back, right? If it needs to be sprayed, you check it and see if it's got a little bit of conditioning agent. And as you can see, I'm kind of going into section 2. It's okay, I'm breaking my own rules. But it kind of went with the flow. But as long as I keep remaining in a section, again, checking with the comb. Okay, this tightens better. So you think you're done. For every single section that we do, we then go down and we check with a thinner tooth comb. Aha. Okay. Some of this is still a little tight. And you can see when I'm pulling, it comes out tight, but it can be opened up with a comb. Okay, so this is good. Okay, so I think that's pretty straightforward. What I'm gonna do is finish brushing Rosie in my sections. I'll meet you guys back here when I get to her front leg. Now the reason I am protecting the face and head when I'm spraying, obviously, is I don't want to get the product in their eyes. So anytime you're working on a head, and we're going to talk about this a little more with the headpiece, but I'm kind of approaching her here. So I'm obviously keeping her on a grooming loop for her own safety, but I'm blocking her face and her head and her eyes with my arm. And usually also when you're spraying a dog's face, head, things like that, you always want to protect their face. So I want to definitely mention that, and we're getting close to getting to that front leg, so I'll see you in a second. Okay, we're here. We're at the front leg. Okay, before we go any further, your brush might be full of dog hair right now. I want to take a moment and stop. Obviously, get a trash can or a vacuum close to your salon. Us groomers, we just throw it on the floor, vacuum it later usually. But here's before I go into her front leg, I want to show you how you actually keep this clean, because if it's full of hair, it's not going to do its proper brushing work. So with the comb, not only does it serve to check your brushing, it's, again, you have to do it together. I can go ahead and use my comb and lift out the hair that I just brushed out, okay? Kind of comes out in a little pat like that. So just make sure that you're constantly, as you're doing this whole brushing process, checking your slicker brush, making sure that there's a big pat of hair, and if that's the case, you just remove it with your comb. Just letting you know. And then keep an eye on your combs too, making sure to keep them clean so that they do the right job. So now we are at the dreaded front leg. No matter how good a dog is, I have met a few in my life that are okay with their front legs. But Rosie, who is our personal dog, has been trained to be groomed all her life, and even she is a little bit fussy with her front legs. So I wanted to stop here and kind of show you guys some techniques, and it involves a little bit of dog psychology. Again, this is my own dog, but this works for any dogs that I work with. So I definitely, as soon as I start touching her leg, I can already see that she's kind of itching away. She doesn't want to really kind of do it. I believe it's more about them being a little ticklish or touchy about their legs than anything really offensive about you, so don't take it personally. So usually I let a dog know if there's a place that is an offensive place or whatnot that they don't like. I let them know I'm about to go there. Hi sweetie, I'm going to do it. So then I'm going to do the regular technique, right, where I'm spraying this section and I start brushing. Now she already knows what's coming. She's starting to fuss. No big deal. I'm holding her under her armpit. I'm going to kind of do a soft intro, and I can feel her already tensing up. Okay, I'm using my hand to support her, letting her know that this is a gentle hold, but at this point in time, thank you little girl, is that her leg is mine for her own benefit. We need to do this. And then for as long as your dog is healthy, and my dog is now getting a little bit of hip stuff, so I'm going to watch her hips while I do this, is I can hold her paw and her leg. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. And do what I can while she's letting me hold her. If a dog starts struggling here, let them. Give them back their paw. Like so right now, she wants her paw back. You don't want to tug a war with their paw. The whole trick is you let them get it back, and then you just say, I'm so sorry, baby. I need a little more time with this paw or with this leg. And sometimes if they get really fussy, you can make little sounds like while you're brushing, distract them. Okay, see, that's her hips coming into play. I'm actually glad you can kind of see that. As soon as you see a dog with any hip issues, something like that, be uncomfortable, you make sure that they're on a stable environment. If you need to rebalance them, which I'm actually going to do for her a little bit. Okay, do so, take the time. And if they want to lie down while you're brushing, you absolutely can let them do that. Again, you have to be thorough. There are no shortcuts in brushing. There's no win. If you don't do this right this time, your dog is going to be the one getting the mats. And then also, I guess if you look at it that way, is you're not going to get the furry, fluffy dog that you want, because you definitely need to maintain dogs like this at home in between grooming visits. So we are going to be doing it right and checking with the comb. So, okay, she's letting me do this. And then we're back to doing how we do everything else. Now, just to kind of go over again, the remainder of my pattern is I always do, like I said, this to the back leg, I go to the front leg, and then I do the other front leg to get them over with. That's kind of what I do. And then I do that repeat pattern on the other side. Okay guys, we are here. We got pretty much most of the body done. We talked about the fussiness from the front legs. Again, don't try to tug a war your dog. Try to win them over with kindness. Explain to them what you're doing. It really does matter. They definitely get great feedback on that. So now we're gonna be at a different place that's a little touchy for a lot of dogs. Maybe your dog is great and not touchy at all. But the tail is also not only a touchy place, but it's also a place that can get matted because it's a friction point. You'll also see that a lot at the base of the tail, because if your dog is happy, which all of our dogs are happy, they wag a lot, and so that causes a lot of matting in this area. So I'm going to spend a little bit of special attention just above where her little waggy friction tail would be. Okay, same technique. We check, and this feels pretty good, so I'm going to go straight to the finer tooth comb. Again, if you guys don't need the wider tooth comb, you can jump to the most narrow that you think. I just don't want anyone hurting dogs using too narrow of a comb on their first pass. But okay, so here's the tail. So I'm doing the top of the tail first because that's not too touchy. And again, as I'm brushing, and the more you guys brush at home, you're gonna actually hear mats and hear tangles when you get to them. They sound different than when the hair just brushes smooth through. So I can definitely see that she has tightness. So I'm just gently, again, making sure that I don't stress her out and that I treat her little back end with extra sensitivity. Now I'm using my hand as a place to rest my brush. This I do on ears, this I do on any long-haired parts. It also gives me a good insight on how this slicker brush feels on skin, and so it gives me this instinctive knowledge of the pressure of how soft or how hard I should use this slicker brush to be effective yet pain-free. Again, time to clean this bad boy. Here we go. Nice little pat of dirty Diary of a Dirty Dog hair over here. So okay, so I got everything through. Ooh, little stick. What I can do is hold the root. If I hear something sticking, I hold the root so that I can actually pull the hair and Rosie can't feel it. Okay, so that's something that you would do for your own hair, right? Is holding the root. If you ever got bubble gum or got a knot in your hair, you hold the root and you go from there. Now we've got a nicely brushed out, nicely done tail. Okay, again, hold the root if I see anything tight. And isn't that amazing? The more I go down with my narrower spaced tooth comb, the more stuff I catch. And so I can't take any easy way out. All right, guys, so we've got the tail, we've got the front legs, the dreaded front legs. Now we're gonna go to the head. I wanted to save the head for last. It's a special piece. Now, most of you guys out there are not gonna have a top knotted poodle that has what? I wanna say about 7 inches of growth at some parts on her head. So obviously you guys aren't gonna have something this dramatic, so don't worry about it. But the philosophy still remains the same. So in order for me to go ahead through Rosie's head, and I'm gonna do a special video on doing a top knot for all of you guys who want to do a tie-up for your dogs, how to properly do that so that it stays and that it's comfortable for the dog. So we'll save that for another episode. For all you folks who don't have a top knotted dog, so what we need to do is just be a little cautious. I include the ears with the headpiece, and I basically brush the dog. When I say the whole body, it's really just basically behind the neck, and I save the neck and the head usually for last. So I start with the neck and head. Now the neck and head is the most commonly to be pet. Head, neck, behind the ears, very easy to get matted, especially when you have a dog with some kind of substantial fur. So again, I've got this going. I've got her being very sweet. I separate the hair up and I go ahead and I brush. Okay. Now, if your dog doesn't have any substantial length here, then you're gonna go straight to where it starts, where the occiput is, which is this bone that you can feel right in the back of every dog's head. That's where most haircuts start. So you usually do the body cut starting at the occiput. Poodles are a little bit different because they have this usually a dramatic neck piece, but that still shouldn't matter. Here's the important things about head and face. Always cover the eyes. Always cover the eyes. Okay, let's go ahead and spray. You can also do a little visor and spray. Okay, make sure you don't get it in their eyes. Other point of concern, we don't want to go near the dog's eye unless we're very safe and very slow. So I'm going to go ahead and start brushing away from the eye. Remember how I said at the tail when you can hear when there's tightness? That's the sound of a tight coat. That means the hair is kind of stuck together. It's not matted, but it's tight. So we've got these little snarls, swirls, the beginning of dreadlocks. is what we're seeing here. Okay, so now I'm by the eye. Don't worry about spraying the product anywhere close to the eye. You want to get it remotely around the area. And with my thumb, I'm protecting her eye, and I'm going ahead and brushing this through. Okay, I found a mat here. Again, what's our rule? Hold the root, brush out the mat. You can use your hand as kind of a springboard, and again, as a training mechanism to understand how hard, see my hand's right behind that, how hard you should use a slicker brush on your dog. Okay, other eye, I'm protecting because I'm using my left hand, protecting with the remainder of my hand here. Don't know if you guys can see that, but like this. Okay, so just being very, very mindful that their little eyes are sensitive, right, baby girl? And that they need to be handled with care. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and brush her ears. One note about ears is you not only have the outer ear to worry about, you've got inner ear. So if you just brush the outside of the ear and the dog is still getting matted, it's probably because you didn't brush the inside of the ear. So I'm gonna do the same thing, knowing that because I'm at a headpiece close to the eyes, I'm gonna be very, very careful about the direction of which I spray. And I lifted up to see the backside too. So we're gonna go ahead and brush these ears. See you in a second. Okay guys, well that is it. I know it takes a long time and it takes a lot of thorough attention and no shortcuts, but this is for your dog. And I kind of have a joke that dogs are GMO. We created them to do certain things for us. We're now creating them to be fuzzy and cute, and that's wonderful, but we have to take care of those fuzzy and cute dogs in between grooming visits, so that they're in no pain, so that they're comfortable, they can move around freely, and also it's a wonderful bonding experience with your dog. If you have any questions, please post them down below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more like it. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.